Hey everybody, this is the LEGO Jurassic World 2 set called Indoraptor Rampage at Lockwood Estate. And with over 1,000 pieces, this set takes a while to put together, and obviously most of those pieces go into the Lockwood Estate building itself. Now this structure looks pretty good to me from the outside. You know, it has good presence and it's definitely pretty large. But if you look at each of the window sections, you see that they're pretty much identical from one to the next. So there actually was quite a lot of repetition in this build. Every single window section is built almost exactly the same as the last, and they do make very efficient use of large pieces. So you see some large panel pieces used here. That's a little bit disappointing to me that they didn't use actual masonry bricks, you know, those textured bricks to fill in that space. They easily could have. This is a nice kind of oval shaped window there. They've got a nice balcony up above with some banister railing going around. This is kind of nice what they did for the roof section there. New tan color for that Nexo Knights shield cover piece. You can actually open the door. You can put basically one figure there on the balcony. I appreciate the inclusion of the drainage pipes. That's a nice detail. But a lot of this is, like I said, repeated, and a lot of it is built with larger pieces, like especially the 1x2x5 and 1x1x5 pieces, you know, the regular brick pieces like you see here. So it doesn't feel like you do as much as I'd say the part count suggests. They really didn't do a lot of small details on here. But again, it looks pretty good. These are actually kind of brick or actually plate built doors there. So that's a nice, you know, a nice thing to actually have those be built, but it would have been nicer to have some tiles over them as well to smooth them out. Now it's well known and no surprise that almost all of the large LEGO structure builds, except for the Create or Expert modular buildings, are fairly thin. They're practically facades. Well, this is mostly like that, with kind of the dollhouse look around the back, so you get some detail back there, but just not a whole lot of depth to it. But they do also have these extensions down here, which create a nice great hall area. This is actually supposed to represent a museum space, so you can see some displays, kind of natural history museum style, you know, made up little dioramas there. So one on this side and one on the other side. I like how they have the clear panel in front of each of those, and you know, there's some depth there, and they did a good job with the graphics of suggesting some depth and suggesting that there are some physical 3D models inside of there, you know, or stuffed animals, and then, you know, an actual painted backdrop behind. But it is rather flat, and it's just one sticker for each. Now up above here you do get some walkways, so you can place figures along either side, but you notice these Technic bricks on the sides with the pinholes in them? Well, those are used all throughout this. Let me show you how some of those are used. So you can kind of reconfigure the shape of the interior space. These side wings are placed on with that same sort of design, with the same alignment of the Technic pins. So I'm just going to put one pin in each to give you just a quick suggestion of how, look at that, you can make the museum wing longer. Now this looks much better to me, you know, and gives you kind of a larger space. You can just imagine this being a larger floor space, and they also have this that can be placed in there, which makes a lot more sense now. We'll take a closer look at that in a minute, but you can also start bringing some of the larger pieces along the sides as well if you really want to change up the shape of the entire thing. And I can even take this side over here, plug that in over here, so that changes things quite a lot and very easily. I appreciate that. It might have limited value to some, but it's better to have a little bit of configurability like that for both play, well, mostly for play, but also a little bit for display depending upon where you want to put it. You can also kind of stack things up vertically since they have the second set of pinholes on the second floor, but I don't know, that doesn't work out all that well. This is probably a useful way to set it up though. Looks a little bit plain from this side, but it's not that bad. Alright, going back to the default configuration, I just want to finish out the ground level floor, which has these little side wings that have just the identical decorative element in each, and above that is just a little bit of plain empty space. And strangely, those are the largest empty spaces that are studded that they have in this building. Each one is just large enough to basically put one figure in there moving, or maybe a couple standing kind of looking at each other talking or something. These upper walkways are also useful, but the most interesting part of the interior is this lab here, which has a lot of detail. That's a technique right there used for the computer screen that I didn't even realize you could do with the window pieces that can actually be held by clips there. So nice detail in here, just one sticker used for that computer screen. Got the microscope here that's done in a slightly different way from what I've seen before. Got a, I think this is a light table doing some illumination. Inside of there is a claw that is being examined, and you can also bring that up, use some relatively new pieces, so you can just change the angle of that if you want to. Has a little I mean, it's a box, right? This has within it a single egg, the modern standard style of egg, just one in white. And this is a combination of a couple things here, a little, probably a heated examination table for a baby dinosaur, and then this is going to be shaking or possibly analyzing some tissue samples or some fluid samples. Now, what's a shame about all this is that the usable space there for posing figures is absolutely minimal. You can stand a figure there up real close. I guess I can bring it back just one, looking at the computer screen there. For using the microscope, yeah, you can just stand a figure, again, facing away. Can't even really, I can kind of, it's starting to disassemble the microscope, and it's a little bit fragile in there. Let's see, you can stand a figure right there. You can basically just stand a figure facing away from you at each of these stations, and that's about it. I wish that you could pose them going side to side, maybe debating findings, talking about stuff that they've discovered. If this just had one or two studs, more depth right there on this level in particular, since there's so much detail on this level, that would have helped a ton. But instead, it's really, really very limited. And like I said, that's just unfortunate. Nice stuff in here. It's just difficult to use it. The uppermost usable floor has the access to the balcony. I'll just bring this guy out so you can see that door that lets you out there. We've got a bed over here, and this bed can be flipped up, interestingly. Might have some specific reference to an occurrence in the movie, but just a little bit different build for a bed than usual. We've got a holder over here for an umbrella, so that's an umbrella that can be taken out. And then they've got just a desk, no seat to go up to it, so I guess you just have to, again, stand looking at it. But a desk or a table with a lamp with the black sausage piece used for the neck of it again, and that just has a map piece, and that's an existing pirate-based printed map piece that we've had before. Not a lot of detail on this level, not a lot of usefulness in terms of posing your figures around either. And then finally we get to see just how the construction is done for these little roof sections from behind. And this does have a single action feature up here with the skylight. It looks kind of nice. These pieces have been used for trains, I think, up to this point. Those windscreen parts have been used. I have them in white and in blue. I think black is a new color, and that looks pretty good, except it's extended out like this, and the action feature is just from over here. You just pull that, and it comes down a little bit. It doesn't even really do all that much, so yeah, it's okay. This looks good, I think, from around the front and from the sides, but you bring it all the way around closer to the back, it's just extending out too much, and you have the exposed Technic beams there. It's just kind of weird. And that's it for the building. So you really need to bring a lot of your own imagination to this. Take advantage of some of the easy reconfigurability to make the shape make more sense to you, or to kind of adapt it to your play space or to your display space. And let's go ahead and move on to some of the smaller things. Now, this Triceratops skull is easily one of my favorite things in the entire set, mostly because of the beak. I just really like how the beak is shaped up, and it works well proportion-wise with the position of the eye cavity there. You can also change the pose of this down here, so you can open the mouth up a little bit, close it down a little bit, just like the shaping of the end there. And going back and forth between the white and the normal tan is perfect. You know, it gives it a little bit of realism, makes it feel a little bit more like bone rather than just plaster. You know, full white tends to look a little bit fake sometimes, so this makes it look a little bit more real. Or maybe they've got just you know, some duplicates of original fossils there that were used to construct this entire design, and then they're showing you the difference between the actual pieces and kind of the scientists' or artists' recreation of what they believe the entire skull would have looked like. So, you know, different ways you can look at that. Even looks decent from around this most camera unfriendly angle. So I just think this is really well done, and I'd love to see more things like this released by LEGO. This Indoraptor is definitely the most valuable thing in the set, and it looks pretty cool to me. I especially like the head. I like the shaping of it. You can just see the shaping of the bones beneath, so it's really well sculpted, I think. The choice of colors looks pretty good to me. My least favorite thing is the print going down the side, the olive color there, but it also has that subtle black on black print, which you can mostly see from specific angles. If you look on the upper part of the main body there, you see some of the little plates, some of the little scales in there, which is an interesting effect. It's a little bit too subtle, but you know, you've got the Indominus hands reused from before, and then these really large, oversized Utah raptor, or in the movie they call them Velociraptor, you know, styled claws and legs. I was very disappointed when I put this together because it does come in pieces, but with the legs themselves, they're very hollow, very, very hollow and thin. They feel so cheap, but once you put them on, you don't feel that anymore when you actually grab this. So that, fortunately, is a bad thing that kind of becomes a moot point. It feels solid enough, and I appreciate them not wasting plastic, you know, where they don't need to use it. I love this head. I like the eye, that Indominus eye there. Got a little bit of the crest on the back of it, and this head can rotate around in all sorts of creepy ways, and it can also go up and down quite a ways. So that can go up, that can go down. You can close the jaw, kind of snaps. Mostly just has those two positions though. Yeah, that's about it. Full open, full closed. It would have been nice to have an in-between state there, but you can angle the whole thing down. It has a lot of range of expressiveness, so you can bring it down into that, you know, sniffing the ground kind of look. There we go. Just kind of cheated. Got it a little bit in between space, but yeah, you can just hear it sniffing when it's like that. So that's pretty good. You can get the probably more biologically sensible sorts of poses for these, or you can get it up really tall. The tail can just be rotated around, you know, so you can have that angling off to the side or going down entirely, depending upon how you want it to be posed. And the arms just go up and down, and then the hands are able to rotate around, and each hand is able to hold a minifigure within it, within that squared off space. There's how that looks, and there's another figure on the ground just for scale. So let's move on to the so-called Velociraptor in the set, the adult Velociraptor, who is Blue number 2. I'm assuming it's a clone of the original Blue, supposedly, or maybe not. Maybe it just has some of the genetic material from the original Blue, or maybe it's just another one that has some blue in its color scheme, so they just continued that name along, because compared to the original blue that they did for Jurassic World 1, there's a lot of difference there. You just have the commonality of a couple of the colors, but the overall look is quite different. This one almost looks like it has some echo mixed into it or something. I don't know. It's just, or is it Delta? No. Anyway, it's a new thing. It's a new color scheme and a new set of prints for this one. And I think it looks pretty cool. I liked the original blue better, but I think the color scheme works out pretty well. And my favorite part of this is actually the print on the top of the head. Look at that. Got some fine detail in there. It goes all the way back around the back of the neck as well. And then there is this, the baby Velociraptor, which is just unfair. It's too cute. Oh my goodness, this is insane. This is crazy. It's so tiny, and it has the big head and the big eyes and the little hands. It fits on a single stud. It's so small, but I think it's really, really well done. It almost, I don't know, almost has a Duplo kind of feel to it. You know, being a single piece animal and having the feet together combined across an anti-stud, a single anti-stud, and with just kind of the short, you know, young proportions that they did there. I think it's pretty cool. I also like the print that they put on it. I think I'm not sure if it's supposed to be more crisp than it actually is, especially going along the back or the spine, where it looks like there's a little bit of transition, almost a little bit of fade between the brown and the dark orange kind of native color of it, the color of the plastic. Whether it's intentional or not, I think it looks good, makes it look more organic. And I hope they will do even more variations of these than they have announced so far, because I will collect them all. For human figures, here are the latest versions of Owen and Claire. I am biased when it comes to that Owen, because it just doesn't look like the other Chris Pratt figure faces. It's so different with the facial hair. It's supposed to be older, you know, the character is supposed to be older now, obviously, but I'm having trouble seeing Chris Pratt in that myself. The Claire figure has a strong face, strong expression. It's a little bit different from what we usually get. I like that. I like to see the licensed figures getting faces that look different from just generic ones, you know, that look unique. It's a little bit different shaping there with how they've done that one. Pretty good prints, I think, for each of these. You know, no print for the hips or leg piece for Claire. You do get alternate faces for each of these. That makes sense, and that's pretty cool too. I do like that one. I think that one is my favorite between all four options here. This alternate face for Owen, but again with the alternate face for Claire, just see how strongly expressive that is, and how the proportions are kind of slightly oversized compared to the more standard proportions that they use for Owen. I feel like there was just a different Lego graphic designer who worked on this one and gave it a little bit different flair, which I don't mind. Here on the left we have Gunnar Eversole, and on the right is Eli Mills. The Eversole figure is delightfully unique. Another strong looking figure. You know, it just has a lot of visual impact with that hairpiece and the face, and also the interesting print for the torso. But the Eli figure is disappointingly generic. I don't know, maybe it's supposed to be, but obviously between these two, I much prefer the one on the left, just a more interesting looking figure. The prints on the backs of the torsos, I think, are fine. Well balanced to what they have on the front. And taking a look at these other faces, well, you only get one between the two of them, but this alternate face is also good for Eversole. And just in case there was anything that was slightly obscured by the hairpiece, there's one final look. Last up here on the left is Maisie Lockwood, and on the right is Ken Wheatley. Obviously, Maisie's face was originally a print used on a yellow background, a yellow plastic head for a lot of the city, and other original theme sets, and they just place it onto a light flesh color here. Nice torso for Maisie, nice torso print. Could have used a little bit more opacity for the white, but from any kind of reasonable distance it looks pretty good. And coming around the back, nice back print on the torso for Wheatley there. And for alternate faces, yes, you get another alternate face here, and obviously nothing here because the cap would have shown it, but I do want you to see what that face looks like with the headgear removed. And yes, Owen does get his trademark dark green motorcycle here once again. It's good to see that introduced in another set because that's an uncommon color for that very nice and I think desirable classic motorcycle main upper piece. So to me, in summary, this whole set is a big old mixed bag because I really like the dinosaurs, especially the baby. The figures are good. Some of the interesting features of the structure are good, but some of them are repetitive and or plain and or very limited in their usefulness in terms of, where you can put figures and what you can do with figures. I think the price is about what I would expect, because, for over 1,000 pieces here and including a large dinosaur, those are always super expensive, and a medium one, and some new prints and such, and also with it using large panel pieces, a lot of those, and a lot of 1x1x5 and 1x2x5 pieces. These are all things that are more valuable than the average part. So I think the price to part ratio is not going to be the best thing to look at here for value, but I feel like it's about where it should be, about where I would expect it to be for something built like this. I'm just very disappointed in this level right here. It's like the most important thing where you could get the most play value out of it, the most imaginative play value with that, the whole STEM angle to it, taking it beyond just a single scene of the movie. But you just can't get figures in there. That's not good. I love this down here, as simple as it is. I'm probably a little bit biased there because I loved Natural History Museum installations as a kid. Some of my favorite things to go to see. But yeah, some good things here. Some kind of plain, kind of boring to me. Like I said, just a mixed bag to me personally. But that's just one person's thoughts. Feel free to leave your thoughts about the set on the whole, what you like most, what you like least about what you've seen here, by just throwing a comment on the video down below if you would like to, and I'm going to continue working and bring you more videos soon, so stay tuned, and I'll talk to you then.